Hi guys, it's Bree. Tonight, because it is nighttime, I just wanted to spill my brain and just kind of talk about what's on my brain and what's been on my mind lately. If you're new here, hi, my name is Bree. I'm 26 years old and I make videos sometimes with my friends, but I mainly make videos just sharing my experiences and such on various topics to hopefully help somebody out, because it helps me out knowing that I'm sharing my stuff to hopefully help somebody out, and that's all I can hope for. So if you're into this sort of content, stick around. I would love to have you join our little community. Yeah. So it is currently nighttime right now. It's 11:13. You know when you don't want to like reach out to your friends because you don't want to be a bother? Like, I'm having kind of one of those moments right now, and it's like obviously like easier said than done to like tell yourself like, oh, you're not a bother. I don't know, that's something that I've always struggled with, and like I always feel like I am a bother when I reach out to people. So I guess that's why I'm making a YouTube video, even though my friends will most likely see it like at some point. So one thing that I've been really struggling with, and I feel like it has only gotten a little bit worse like since I got my autism diagnosis in 2023. So, and then 2024, my birth mom passed away by suicide. So, like, I think those two things have a lot to do with like the loneliness, and I feel like it's been really heavy recently, and it's a really sucky feeling. Like, can we just quickly talk about, like, I know I've probably mentioned this in my other videos, but like, can we just quickly talk about like how like when you're late diagnosed with autism, like let's talk about those two topics for a second. The late diagnosed autism and the suicide grief. So like in my experience, when I was late diagnosed with autism, I really thought that like, oh, I'd be happy, and like I'd like everything would make sense. And in a way, like a lot of things do make sense, like when I look back on my childhood and like my past. But there's also like, I feel like a grieving process to it, where you grieve and feel lonely about the mistreatment that you, I don't want to say put up with, but I guess like experienced, I guess. Just like knowing that I have tried so hard to fit in, or to be like other girls that I saw or look up to, or I don't know. And then there's just like the fact of like trying to accept that like I won't ever be that, and that like I'm my own person and my brain is wired differently. And you know, growing up and like seeing a bunch of people, a bunch of women with like a lot of friends and stuff, you know, that is definitely has made me feel lonely over the years as well. And I kind of wanted to do like a small update to my video, my first brain spill episode. If you watch that video, it's called maybe I'm my own best friend, my own girl best friend. So I talked about how like I reached out to like a couple people in that video, and I did end up hearing back from the people that like I reached out to. So like that got me really excited, and like I realized that like obviously I don't get that often. So I get really really excited, and I put like a lot of effort into wanting to connect because I just want connection so badly. And as an autistic individual, I feel like I experience favorite person. So like I think that's one of the like traits of like BPD. I think I don't think I have BPD, but like, I've noticed that like when I am forming a connection or trying to, I get fixated on person, and like it's not in an obsessive way, it's not in a like it's definitely not in like a harmful way at all. It's just like the excitement of of a possibility of a connection or something. And I feel like a lot of the times I have like rose-colored glasses on. I hold other people so highly because I'm such a caring and giving person, and oftentimes it doesn't really work out in my favor because I just get walked on. And I noticed that I've been really trying to, especially in the past, of where like I try to tone myself down or my excitement down. I'm learning to not do that because like excitement is good, you know? Like it's not a bad thing. I don't know, like my brain is going in like so many like different directions. Like obviously like I overthink things, and me being as caring and giving as I am, like that does get taken advantage of, and I have had that happen like a lot, you know, where like I'm giving a lot to somebody and only getting like half-assed back. And I feel like I'm pretty like self-aware for the most part of like myself, and I'm always like apologizing for things that I shouldn't apologize for, and I'm really trying to work on that, you know. I don't know, like I think like a lot of that also has to do with like trauma and just being like mistreated. But you know, I think the fact that like I'm still like trying, that's good. And I think that's like that should be something that should be like celebrated, that like the fact that like I'm not giving up on it and like I'm still like trying to form connections. It definitely does get exhausting, you know, when you feel like you're giving so much of yourself like I have in the past. And I think I just need to learn how to like set boundaries for myself. I am someone who is unconditional love in human form, I guess. So like I don't know, it comes with like it's like 50-50. On one hand, my brain gets down on myself for being that caring and giving, but then I'm like, well, this is the reason that like, you know, people love me and care about me and appreciate me. But then, you know, on the other hand, it's kind of like, well, you know, just that like if you're a caring and giving person, like, you know, to try to like be aware of like the takers and like people that like don't really like give a lot, and need to like, you know, recognize that like it's more of a good thing than bad. And I feel like I look at it as a bad thing because of the way that people have made me feel in the past for it. And who knows, you know, a lot of people, like I literally was having a conversation with my adoptive mom the other day, and I was like, you know, I don't know how to stop that, but I wish I could. Knowing for myself that I feel that, like, it gets me, like, it makes me feel bad to, like, say that about myself. Obviously, like, if I were somebody that's, like, on the outside looking in, I would be telling myself, like, oh, like, don't think that about yourself, you know? Like, it's a good thing that you're caring, and, like, I definitely get that quality from my birth mom, I think. So that's like something that I'm gonna have to live with for the rest of my life. And I'm just like, oh great, like how do I like navigate that? I don't know. But I was literally like telling my adoptive mom the other day, I was like, you know, like I wish I could like turn that off sometimes, because I feel like there's people in, and there have been people that like don't see it or appreciate it. And you know, so I guess I just have to like find like a balance or something. Like connection has been a really big thing and like hard thing. I guess like if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If it goes, then I should let it, you know? Sometimes our brains are just crazy. I don't know, like I'm someone that like really values like connection, and especially like since my birth mom passed, I have definitely been feeling, you know, lonely in like both of those areas. And so like I think like that happening doesn't help very much. Um so like I'm just like trying to like navigate it. I feel like I'm, more than I'd like to admit, putting myself in isolation a lot of the times because I feel like people don't want to hear from me. And that's a tricky battle in itself as well, you know, like wanting connection but also don't want like not wanting to bother people, which, you know, this video, that's tricky in itself. And then like, you know, because like a suicide grief and then like the grief on top of like the autism thing, like those two things are very like complicated and complex. I mean, a suicide grief is different than that, but like it's very complex and complicated with a lot of feelings involved. And I mean, that type of grief is different than any other type of grief that I've experienced. And it's definitely like I've heard that people, other survivors of this, just from me like reading things and stuff and being like in a support group and stuff, once you get past the first year, the second year, am I wording that correctly? Hopefully you get what I'm saying, but like once you're past the first year, like you know, going into the second year, shit only gets harder. Um and I definitely am feeling that, like emotion wise. Like, I feel like it's really been really hard for me these past couple months. Like, it's been like what, a year and 2 or 3 months now, I think. I think it's 3 months now, which is insane. I don't know, like it's just crazy how time goes by like so quickly and you're just like, what happened? I feel like in my grieving process, it's been like the first year, like last year was okay. Like I didn't have like as much breakdowns. Like I still did, but like not like I wasn't feeling as emotional. Like I was more numb to it, I guess. And I feel like that with the PMDD, that has, which if you didn't know, I was just recently diagnosed with PMDD, which is basically a severe form of PMS. So that's great. I just feel like I'm feeling like everything. I feel like I'm trying to like navigate like a lot and it's like too much at times. And I'm just like, how the fuck am I doing it? How am I still like alive sometimes, you know? Like I don't know, it's just like one of those things where it's just kind of like, how do I do it? I don't think that there is like a right thing to do it, you know? I don't think that there's a right way to do things. I don't know, I guess you just gotta like take it like one day at a time, you know? Because eventually, like, tomorrow will be better. And if tomorrow's not better, then tomorrow will be better. Like, the next day will be better. I sometimes don't know how I do it. It's been a tough year, like, on top of the PMDD. Like, whether or not, like, grief or trauma is a factor in PMDD or whatever, like hormonal changes, whatever, I don't know. The PMDD has definitely made my grief worse. But also like getting like confirmation like that, like, okay, this is like, you know, a thing now. I have to learn how to navigate that as well, like on top of all the shit that I'm dealing with. I'm just like, all right, that's great. Let's just you know, add another thing to the list. Try to move through it. And then like a suicide grief is obviously different than like any other type of grief that like I've experienced. Like I've had people in my life like pass away, you know. I had my grandpa die from cancer. I had my aunt die from cystic fibrosis. I had a friend that overdosed, like, you know, and then my birth mom died by suicide. I feel like it's such a different death or and a different grief because like you don't know when it's gonna happen, and like it was always like in the back of my brain, and you know that was always my worst fear. And you know, unfortunately, the last time was the one that did it. And you know, so it's kind of sudden and unexpected in that way. So, and it's different than any of the other like losses that I've experienced. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at in my grief. I'm just trying to like navigate it. As far as the PMDD goes, I have an appointment with my provider. I think we're gonna get me on some meds, and obviously like around that time I'm just gonna really like allow myself to like rest more and to like listen to my body, prioritize rest, and self-care, because I think like that's like I think those are the things that are like along with medication that are helpful for PMDD. Also, thank you for like the feedback on that video. That video was like really nerve-wracking for me to film. I don't know why. I genuinely don't know why it was so nerve-wracking for me to film that video. I just was like nervous for whatever reason, and just thank you for all the positive feedback and for telling me that like that video helped you. Like again, that's what I strive to do with my channel. I strive to break the highlight reel of social media and to share bits and pieces of like my vulnerability and stuff, because there's power in vulnerability, and just thank you for that. Okay, so the other day well, actually a few weeks ago now, it's not the other day, but a few weeks ago, I was at a marketplace with some of my friends, and like a shopping marketplace, and we went shopping and we went to go see a movie. When we were checking out our tickets, because it was like a kiosk type of thing, it said like, oh, you have to be like 17 or older to see this movie. And we were like, okay, obviously we were all of age, you know, we're all 25, 26, 27, you know. Something told me that like, oh, I wonder if they're gonna like ask for like our IDs or something. I don't know, like something like when we were doing that on the kiosk, I was like, are they gonna ask for our IDs? Like just a thought kind of crossed my mind, and then I let it go because I was like, oh no, like that's never happened before, you know, nothing's gonna happen. So we hang out for like an hour like after that, because like we still had like an hour like before the movie started. So then when the movie is starting, we go back. My friend Kylie is in front of me, I'm in the middle, and Joanna, my other friend, is like on this side of me. And so he lets Kylie through, and like he scans her ticket, you know, doesn't even give it a thought. I hand him my ticket, like I'm holding it out for him to scan it. And he like looks at my ticket, and he looks over here. He like looks at the ground for a minute or something. And he looks at the ticket again, and he looks up at me. He's like, "You're 15." And for a second there, like I kind of felt myself like shutting down, but thankfully I didn't. That is something that I wanted to discuss and talk about, because it is something that I have had like thoughts about. Um, but basically, he looks at me and he goes, "You're 15." I was kind of like taken aback for a minute. I was like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm 26. No, I can show you my ID if you need. He's like, "You're 15. Like, there's no way you're 26." I was like, well, I am 26, like I promise you. He kind of like joked for a minute, and he's like, "You're 15, like get out of here." And then he was like, you know, go. I was like, thank you. So I guess it's a compliment. I don't know. I mean, the way that I look at it is like maybe like when I'm 40, I'm gonna look like when I'm like in my 30s maybe, and then like in my 70s, I'm gonna look like I'm in my 50s or 60s. I don't know. But like when I was 20, I applied for a job. The manager was like, "Are you like over like 18?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm 20. Like I'm 20, I promise." She's like, "Really? You look like you're 15. You look like you're 16." And I was like, "I'm 20, I promise." So I don't know. Like there's a disadvantage to looking younger when you're autistic, and then there's also like, you know, that part where it's like, oh, like it's kind of a compliment. But that was funny. But it did kind of take me back a bit, and I was kind of like I felt myself like shutting down, but thankfully I was able to like not shut down. I think it's because I wasn't expecting him to do that, you know? Cuz like normally you don't ever really have interactions with those kind of people. So like when that did happen, I was kind of like, "Oh shit," like, you know. But I have proof that I'm, you know, the age that I say that I am. But it really did get me thinking, because I was like, oh shit, like what happens like if I actually do shut down? Like what am I going to do? You know? And so I was thinking like, you know, cuz I've had that thought like cross my mind. I really haven't ever shut down like in public. The last time that I shut down, maybe last year or like 2 years ago, like over vid chats with a friend of mine. Hi Jesse, if you're watching this. But then the last time that I shut down before that was when I was 20, I think. And that was with like an ex-boyfriend, and I shut down at his house. Before that, it would have just been in school, basically. And that's like really the only like public place that I've shut down in, and like kids would get in my face and be like, hello, 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 and teachers too, and they didn't understand it, and like I didn't understand it too, which was awful and very frustrating. It got me thinking, like, what's gonna happen if I shut down? Like, what am I gonna do? Like, especially like if I'm not with other people, like I have to make sure that like I'm safe for one. Like that's another concern that I have, is that like if that does happen, which it hasn't happened, and thankfully, like hopefully that's not a thing that happens. But if I find myself in a situation where I'm like, I don't know, like it just got me thinking, where I was like, shit, like what do I do? Like if I find myself like in a situation where like I'm either alone or if I'm with somebody, like I need to make sure that I'm safe. I need to make sure that like I'm good. Like if I can't speak, if I'm, because what happens is like I basically frozen. I can't speak, I can't look at the person, I can't move. Like it takes me a while to come out of it, but it honestly just depends like how big the shutdown is. But I usually come out of it on my own time, and then by that time like I'm usually just tired afterwards. But again, it really got me thinking, like I need to make sure that I'm safe. I need to like have like some sort of like, I don't know, like script on my phone that I can like just easily pull out my phone and like show somebody like, hey, like I'm in shutdown mode right now, like I'm autistic. So maybe that's a good idea. Or maybe I could just like not disclose my disability. I could just say like, oh, like I'm in shutdown mode right now, like please be patient with me. Like it just really got me thinking, like, oh shit, like what if that actually happens? Like what if that's a thing that like, and I'm around somebody that doesn't know like about it. That's a thought that I need to figure out and navigate as well. But yeah, the movie was good. Also, another thing that I wanted to talk about, for a couple years now, I've been like feeling really weird when I open the Instagram app. And I don't know, like, I don't know, I just get like this dark energy because I'm in tune with myself that way. I want to make a whole video just about like social media and like my experiences like on social media and stuff like that. And this kind of goes back to like the first topic that I was talking about how like I'm like always like the first one, well not the first one, but like I'm always one to support my friends and one to support people. When it comes to me, it feels like it's only like half-assed. I'm not saying like it's all of my friends, so like if you're watching and like it's probably not about you, but I noticed that, like, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this, like, on TikTok and stuff, and I wanted to talk about it because it is something that I have experienced lately. When I'm posting something about my channel, my YouTube channel, like, on my personal Instagram, and I'm not talking about my YouTube Instagram, when I'm posting something on my story about my channel, or like trying to get people to engage with it, or like, I don't know, something like that. Like when I'm posting about it, I feel like I have to like ask for people to support me, and that's not a good feeling, because like it's sort of the thing where like people that are in your story views but don't like interact with anything at all ever, or they don't like your post or whatever. And I think like that's why it feels dark, is because like there's people on there that are just like watching. You don't really know like their intentions, I guess. I had a guy, a former friend of mine, message me, and he was like, hey, I think you're really, really pretty. And I kind of had a moment where I went like, oh, like, well, why don't you like any of my stuff? Like, why don't you engage with any of my content? And he was like, well, I didn't want people to think that I was like weird. And I was like, huh? Like, how is that weird? Like, why is like supporting your friends and like the social aspect to social media, like, why is that weird? Like, why is like, you know, commenting and liking and like hyping your friends up and whatever, like, why is that a weird thing? Like, why should that be weird? I don't think it should be weird, but so I don't know. And like, whether or not like I show up on people's feeds, it's just kind of like it gives like I'm watching you energy, like, but I don't want to support you because it's like I know that you're watching. I know that you're watching my story. Like, I know that you're, you know, because I can see you. I can see you. I can see like your name, your username in my thing. I don't know. It's just kind of like it's just weird. And like people can say like, "Oh, Brie, it's not that deep," but it is. Like cuz like I'm always one to like go hard for people. Like I barely get that back. Like I feel like as I've gotten older, like that stuff hasn't really mattered as much. But I feel like, especially like with starting my channel back up again, like I feel like it's kind of like a thing that has kind of bothered me a little bit. I'm not trying to like let it like take over my, you know, brain that much because at the end of the day, like, you know, the people that want to support you are the ones that, you know, want to support you and you know, just be grateful for the people that do and show you that love and show you that support. Sometimes, like, I find myself getting like a little bit petty about it because I'm like, you know, I'm going super hard for you. Why is that not returned to me? But, like, most of the time, you know, I don't really expect anything. And I think that's the way to go about it is like, you know, just do you, just be genuine, you know, and the right people will do it. But I do admit that sometimes I get in my head about like, you know, the numbers and just everything and I'm just like, you know, and people that like don't interact with my stuff and I'm just like, you know, I just get like this weird feeling and I think that just has to do with like trauma and social media just that I've had over the years and I'm just like, you know, like what are your intentions? Like what do you do? You know, like I don't know. It's just weird and I wanted to talk about it. I definitely do want to make like a video like all about like social media and like my experiences and stuff like that. So I know that Reddit is a whole thing in itself. I did want to mention this in case if there's any other like individuals out there that have autism that are women, think that you should go check out the subreddit Autism in Women. The subreddit is basically undiagnosed, self-diagnosed, like diagnosed autistic people. It's really good and it's really helpful and I find myself in there a lot. Just like basically just like scrolling and like reading different people's things that they're struggling with and it's really helpful so I'll put it like down here um or like if I can link it I'll link it in the description box but I really do recommend that subreddit because I've tried some of the other subreddits and a lot of the other subreddits just like they don't compare to the autism in women. So that's great. That's helpful. I do know that I want to like talk more about mental health related things. Like in terms of like the eating disorder topic, I don't really think that there's anything that I could talk about. I mean, I'm not talking about in this video. I'm talking about like in a whole other video. But like I definitely want to like explore that a little bit more and like share more. So I think that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please follow me on my new Instagram account because I got locked out of my other one. But please follow me there. It'll be here. And remember that you are loved, you are appreciated, you are strong, you are cared for. I think I said that. Fuck. You are cared for, you are strong, you are appreciated, you are loved. You got people that are rooting for you and that want to see you do good. And if you don't have anybody, you have me. And I love ya. So stay strong, stay here, and I hope to see you in my next video. Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!